you've been focusing on these soft skills, and it seems like in profession, for you, the key to your success, or at least managing and trying to learn more, was through these learning these soft skills. And you said you started diving into the psychology and these books and whatnot. But did you have the idea of knowing what you were doing at that time, or was it more in retrospect where you look back on your career and you're like, that's what made me successful?
I think a little bit of both. I think in part it was really being fortunate in terms of like who my mentors, were, and also, and I kind of left this piece out as I was talking about Eric and Al. You mentioned, we talked about Mike as being another mentor, and I think that's an interesting point to make. Is like Mike and I, we're the same age. So we were starting kind of at the same level. Interestingly, we started as interns together. It was, his internship officially was that summer. Mine was technically the fall, but I was still coming down 3, 4 days a week. And fast forward that fall, he ended up being hired as the assistant. But we were kind of learning alongside each other. We were in kind of the same stage in our career, and he's been a tremendous mentor to me throughout my career. And I think that's the important thing is like, I think people sometimes mistake that mentorship, like it always has to be someone sort of above me and beyond me. And I think something that's important to mention is like, networking and having mentors laterally can be just as, if not, more important. So I think it was like being around people like that, and especially, again, Eric, as well as someone like Al, who's like, I don't know if one of my favorite books is The Score Takes Care of Itself by Bill Walsh. And you look at some of the lessons that Bill Walsh shares on like leadership and relationships, and Bill Walsh was one of Al's best friends,
Mm.
and like a huge mentor. So it's like indirectly I was learning from Bill Walsh, through Al, and like people like that, people like Charlie Francis through Al and Eric. And so I think it was like they were already driving the way that I thought and the importance that I placed on, relationships. But it was also like seeing, especially at the pro level in the NBA, the only sort of consequence that a player has if say they don't do the thing you're asking them to do is you can fine them. In college, it's kind of, at least at the time, it's like if something's on the schedule, like they have to do it. In pro sports, it's like they still need to, but what's going to happen is they get fined, which with the amount of money they're making and what the fine is, it'd be the equivalent of me saying to you, hey, if you don't want to do this workout, like you got to pay me $5. You'd be like, like cool, like here, I could have used this for a coffee, but you know, but it's bigger than that. It's kind of the principle of like you're messing with another grown man's money, and there's still like a principle to that. And so for us, I think that was something I learned quick was like we never find guys. And
Mm.
it was kind of for that one of like that could damage the relationship, and it was also in learning from Eric and Al was like if we truly have to find a guy, like we're just not that good at our job. Like we're not, and there was one player in particular during my time there, a really high draft pick, young guy that he was struggling as he wasn't getting a lot of playing time, and so he's kind of struggling as a lot of these young guys do with their transition, and kind of went through a phase where he just sort of thought everyone was against him, and so he wasn't doing anything for us. And we talked about it, Eric and I, and what we realized was, every day when he came in the building and how our practice facility was, you got to walk through the weight room from the parking lot to then get to the locker room to change, whatever. So you got to walk right past my office, and Eric's office was like he would walk right past every day, never say hi. And so it was like the conversation we had was if we can't even if he doesn't even take the time to say hello to us, then we have no right to train them. And
Mhm.
so to train him. And so what we need to do is all the training stuff is tertiary at best. We need to form a relationship where at minimum, when he walks by our office, what's up, E? What's up, Josh? And then eventually maybe he even sits down in my office or E's office and like we sit there and rap and we talk about things. And he was the one that really, I think I learned a lot through coaching him because then it was like, if and when he did come in the weight room and train, we just kind of let him be. But I'd still like I'd pop out there and I'd just be talking life or cracking jokes or whatever, handing him his weights as he went, like not saying anything about training. But then all of a sudden it's like he's looking around. He's like, Josh, you got any like ab exercises I can do? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I got you. Here's oh man, I like, the next time he's like, hey, I really like those ab exercises you gave me. You got something? I want to get a good, pump for my upper body. You got something there? Yeah, I got you. I got you. Then it sort of evolves to he's doing something. You're like, hey, like, why don't we work in, you got a push and a pull there. Why don't we work in a split squat with it? Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, that sounds, and so now it's starting to be
You're
this
building that
collaborative
trust.
thing. Yeah. And what we saw with him was the, I think the moment with him, it was more than any type of like training. It was, we're in the playoffs out in Boston and it was between shoot around and a game. Me, Eric, and one of our veteran players were walking to get lunch. He was like a block and a half behind us. He saw us and he screams, Josh, E, wait up. And he runs down the street because he wants to have lunch with us, And then what that led to was then that off season, what do you guys got for him? And he was fully, he, like you said, he had that trust